Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sarah and you're watching Adventures with the Herberts. This is the Disney haul from our trip in April 22. We have not been back to Disney since 2018. We were due to go in 2020, but then obviously COVID hit. We're also DVC members, so it was our first DVC trip and our first time being able to use our DVC discount, which was a good excuse to buy a little bit more than I'd planned. And obviously because we haven't been for 4 years, it was just so nice to be back in the Disney bubble. A lot of people have said they feel the magic has gone. I disagree. It was just as magical, if anything more for me, because it's been a long time since we've been back there and it just felt equally as magical as our very first trip there. Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to try and split it into different sections. So I'm going to start with pins. We ended up buying quite a few pins. I'm going to hopefully get a pin board up in this room, which is our study stroke vlogging room. So I'm slowly trying to convert it into a vlogging area. I've got some cloud wallpaper to go up and I've got a lovely film print from Up, which is my favourite Disney film. So hopefully it'll look a little bit more Disney-fied in the coming weeks. Anyway, let's get started with pins. So the first pin that I brought, what I tried to do this trip was to buy pins from each resort that we stayed at. And we started off our Disney trip at the Polynesian village. It was our very first time staying there. It's been on my Disney bucket list for a very, very long time, and I didn't think I would be lucky enough to ever be able to stay there. And we were able to stay in the new Moana rooms. If you want to see a tour, I'll try and link that vlog below. But they were just beautiful. They were really spacious and we absolutely love the Poly, and I think it's going to be one of our favourite resorts. So obviously my first pin was of the Polynesian village, which will go up on my new pin board. Also, we stayed at the Riviera Resort, which is our DVC home resort. Again, it was our first time staying there. Absolutely stunning. The pictures we saw of it and vlogs prior to going just don't do it justice. One of the things I love about the Riviera is it's all in one building. So it was just fab, and I'm really pleased that we've actually purchased our DVC there, because if we end up staying there every time we go, I will be over the moon because it's just gorgeous. So I also bought a Riviera pin from the Riviera Resort. If you didn't know already, I'm a massive Up fan. Up is one of my favourite Disney films, so of course I had to buy a couple of Up pins. So you've got Dirk and Russell. And then obviously love Kevin. Finally got to meet Kevin this time on our trip. So I've also got a Kevin pin which says wild and free. We also went to Galaxy's Edge for the very first time. It opened after our last trip, so we hadn't seen it. So of course we're big Star Wars fans in our house, so we had to get a Black Spire Outpost pin as well. There's a really good choice of Star Wars pins actually. And Lib is a massive Stitch fan, if you didn't know already. And she brought a pack of pins which weren't bad value. These were just under $30 for a pack of 4, plus we got a DVC discount. Most of these pins were sort of $12 to $14, so not too bad at all. Not quite pins, but obviously similar sort of thing. Libby also brought a pair of Stitch earrings. So you've actually got 2 there. You've got a little Stitch flower and then little Stitch. You actually get 2 pairs of earrings for $20. Put my teeth in. $20 they were. Why we've just touched on the Polynesian. We did have magic bands, and we do hang our magic bands together after our trip, but because we haven't been for so long, we decided to buy new magic bands when we got there. Again, I had to go for Up. So I went with a Wilderness Explorer, which has got Kevin and Russell on one side, and then you've got the grape soda badge and then obviously all the little badges. I actually bought that at the Polynesian, and Libby went, obviously had to be Stitch, which says, I think you can read it, vacation mode, and obviously you've got Stitch on the back. So Libby went with that. So also while we're at the Polynesian, I was so excited to be able to walk in and then now actually putting Lay's back on you. So we collected up quite a few while we were there. And obviously I've brought them all home with us, and we wore them most of the time we were at the Polynesian. Also brought a couple of prints while I was at the Polynesian. We were very, very lucky to manage to get a reservation for Trader Sam's. Again, that had also been on my bucket list for a very, very long time. You can actually take children in up to 8 o'clock, so that Lib and Ewan did come in for a little while. The drinks are quite expensive, but you know, the experience is definitely worth it. And if you've never been, definitely do it. So I had to get a postcard of Trader Sam's, and that was $6. And then one of my favourite rides, I think I actually bought this in the park, is Jungle Cruise. So I've also got that to match in with that. So I'll pop that in a frame and get that up on the wall. A couple of other prints. I brought an up one, but can I find it anywhere? I'll come across it at some point when I'm unpacking something else. But sticking with the like Polynesian theme, we bought this at Disney Springs, is Mickey and Minnie. So very Polynesian themed. And Lib brought a Stitch postcards. The nice thing about the postcards, if you're not sure about a really big print, you can buy the smaller version and then just pop it in a frame. And these little postcards are around $6 each. So it's a great way of putting a memory up on the wall without obviously taking up a great deal of space. So we went to Topolina's Terrace for breakfast. We did have an evening reservation, but we ended up cancelling it because our plans had changed. The breakfast, if you've not done Topolina's, definitely put it on your list. The food was amazing. It was expensive, but it was definitely worth it. Unfortunately, the characters weren't hugging when we were back there, so I was a bit gutted. That came back a week afterwards, but there were characters out in the restaurant, and they would pose with pictures, obviously socially distanced, and then because they weren't able to sign, everybody got a postcard each with all the signatures on the back, which I thought was a really nice touch at Topolina's Terrace. So next is clothing. I've got to say, we did end up buying quite a lot of t-shirts and things at Disney. They have really stepped up their game. I'm not a big lover of Disney ears, I've got to be honest. I find them really uncomfortable, and I really like to support small shops wherever possible. So the ears that I've got on today, you've seen them in quite a few vlogs. These are from Laura Rose Treasures. And my t-shirt, if you want to know, is actually from Next, and it's a kids t-shirt, but they come up so big, so managed to actually get into that. So let's get started with clothing. Andy, as I said, is a big Star Wars fan. He did actually buy 2 t-shirts. He's got one on today, so I'll insert a picture of that one in there. And then obviously he also brought a Galaxy's Edge one, so hopefully you can see that. So he bought 2 t-shirts in Star Wars. So one thing I'd had my eye on for a very long time is the quite retro looking print with the Walt Disney World on. Yellow is one of my favourite colours, so I was on the lookout for the vintage print. I've seen it on quite a few vlogs, seen quite a few people wearing it, and I really wanted to try and get the t-shirt in the traditional Walt Disney World, quite a retro looking print. So I did actually buy the Walt Disney World t-shirt in a yellow, and I loved it so much. I ended up getting the jumper as well. You can never have enough Disney hoodies, so I also went with the jumper. I'll try and bring that back a little bit, and obviously it's hooded and over the top. So the t-shirt was $24.99, and then obviously we got DVC discount, and the jumper was actually $54.99, and again we got DVC discount off that, so that actually brought the cost of that down. One thing they've started to do a lot of, which I really like, is they've started to make a lot of lightweight spirit jerseys, which I think especially good if you live in Florida, because it's obviously very hot and you don't need thick jumpers on. So we got Liv a Stitch spirit jersey, and this is unlike, I'll just turn around and show you. It actually says Disney World on the back, you can see that. And it's like a tie-dye, but I don't know if you can see, but it's more like a t-shirt material. It's very, very thin. But that is what they've started to do a lot more of, is very thin spirit jerseys. And I think that was around about $60 before discount. But I really like the fact that they're starting to do much thinner spirit jerseys out there rather than the very, very thick ones. And I can't resist anything Up, because it's my absolute favourite film. And they had a really good selection of merchandise this time. So I went with a grape soda vest top, and then obviously it's got a racer back on the back. And again, that's lovely and lightweight. I think that was around $20 if I remember right. And then I also love Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. So I couldn't resist this one, which says I'm so fly. And again, that was $24.99. So most of the t-shirts there were between $24.99 and around about $30. Some were a little bit more expensive. And if you didn't already know, I also love Toy Story. So I couldn't resist this Toy Story, which has got most of the main characters on. This is actually one for Toy Story Land. This was a little bit more expensive. This was, I think, $36.99. So it's probably one of the more expensive t-shirts at the park. But I couldn't resist that t-shirt. I love Toy Story, and it's probably the first time I've seen a specific Toy Story Land t-shirt. I'm trying not to purchase loads of lounge flies. I think I've now got my eye on this particular lounge fly for a while. It was between two when I got there. I was very, very tempted by the Riviera one, but I didn't buy it. What I do when I try and buy lounge flies, I try and buy ones that will match with lots of outfits. Want enough room in your case to actually bring merchandise home, and if I end up with too many lounge flies, there's not going to be any room in the case. I'm going to end up taking too many bags. So I was really torn between the Parks one and obviously Pixar. I love the Disney Pixar. So unfortunately, I went with the Pixar one, which they're all very slightly different. They've all got the same characters on, but as I said, and Toy Story are a couple of my favourite films. So I tried to get one where the characters were a bit more prominent on the bags, so you had to look through them. Again, I think this was around $80 to $90, and again, we got our discount off that. I'll just show you inside, which is beautiful. Again, just the star print. And with the Loungefly bags, you can actually get a drink in the side as well. So these are like ideal size for the park, but the Pixar one had to win every time. So the other thing that we ended up, we didn't buy a lot of plushies. We did get a weighted Pluto while we're there. Haven't seen these in the UK. These are really good if you struggle to sleep, because the weight on them helps you. But we got a weighted Pluto. You've probably seen with D23 that Dinoland is basically going to be no more. There's talk of it being converted into Zootopia. And that being in mind, we were aware that Dinoland would probably not be there on our next trip. So again, one of the things that had been on our bucket list for a while was to play the carnival games there. We'd seen the likes of Tim Tracker doing it, and it looked so much fun, and it was one thing we really wanted to do this time. As I said in the vlog, I think the games were about $5 each. We ended up, I think, purchasing 10 games, but it was so much fun and it was worth every single penny. And I think we ended up with so many plushies by the end, but these are just a couple that we actually won during the carnival games that we've brought back. We ended up with so many. I did end up giving a couple away to a couple of little people around the park. because we just wouldn't have had room to bring them back. So it was value for money. The experience was so much fun. So if you are going out, I would recommend definitely trying to play the carnival games before they're there no more. We also, as we stayed at the Riviera, we also had to get a Riviera Donald. Donald's, again, one of our favourite characters. So we just bought one little Riviera plushie, and we've got Donald. The other thing that I bought at the Riviera was, I'd had my eye on it all week, my Donald, but I justified it because it's excellent for storing your ears into travel. They do a range of Riviera merchandise. They do luggage, ears, you name it, they've got it. And I've had my eye on this all week and I had to buy it. So it is, I suppose, like a vanity bag. It says Riviera Resort. I've scratched it a bit already. It does mark very, very easily. So it's definitely hand luggage, and then you've got Riviera Resort on the back. It is beautiful inside, so you've got plenty of space. It does come with various different straps. Does zip up completely. I'll just show you. And then you do have a long strap as well, so you can sort of carry it. I can't for the life of me remember how much this was. I think it was about $60 or $70. But like I said, it does mark really easily, but it was one thing I couldn't resist at the Riviera, so I did buy that. It is great for storing ears. I reckon you could probably easily get 6 or 7 pairs of ears in here quite comfortably. So I do worry a lot about my ears in my main suitcase. I do tend to put my ears in my hand luggage because the way that earcases get thrown around, I think it's much safer. So that's one of the reasons I've bought this, so I can travel with my ears as hand luggage, just to keep them safe on the journey. The thing that we do every time we do a trip is we normally buy a Christmas decoration. It's a tradition for us. It's something we've always done. Unfortunately, we couldn't find one we liked at Universal, but we did end up buying quite a few at Disney. So we've got a lightning Mcqueen that does make a noise, but I think the batteries have run out already. So, and of course, Lib went for Stitch. We couldn't get this on, I think you can get this on Shop Disney as well, but we couldn't get it last year. So it's Stitch with different lights on, but they don't light up. So Libby went with Stitch. And then I think most of the decorations, again, range from sort of $15 upwards. When we're at Ratatouille, I couldn't resist the Ratatouille decorations. So I actually got 2 for $20. And they've got like little bells on the bottom, so also went for them. Obviously we've got Lightning McQueen, so we had to go for Mato. He's got a Christmas tree on the back, which is decorated with wheel trims. And again, he was $22. So, you know, she bought this one at the Riviera. There's light up as well, but this is super fragile. So if I don't break this before Christmas, I'll be doing very, very well. And that was $24. The other thing that we did for the very first time this time was we went to Gideon's Bakery. The actual virtual, there wasn't really a virtual line. The queue wasn't too long. It was anywhere, generally our shortest was around about 20 minutes, but you didn't have to queue too long. You were limited to what you could buy. So I think you could only buy 4 or 5 items. So we went with the cookies. And they do give you the little card as well of the month. So we went in April, so we got the little card. But obviously once cookies are gone, you've got no memory of it. I did end up actually buying the Gideons Candle, which smells amazing. We've already burnt it quite a few times. It's going really, really well. It smells of Gideon's Bakery. So if you want a memory of Gideon's Bakery, definitely recommend buying the candle in the shop as well. And that smells absolutely amazing. You saw him feature in the vlog a few times. We could not resist this little fella. We had to bring up the pork back. We did want to do the droid workshop, but unfortunately we weren't able to get a reservation, and I wasn't able to get a reservation before I came out. We did leave it very late. So we settled on getting Po the pork instead. I think he was around $60. He did come in a box as well. Unfortunately, when we were at the Riviera, it was by the door, so they ended up binning it. But we went back to the shop where we purchased it, and they were brilliant. They gave us another box to store him in to take him home. And he was definitely worth the money. I'm really glad we got one of them to bring back with us. I think he's really very loud. Thankfully, he's got an off button. But yeah, we wanted to get one. We'd seen them quite a lot. You can't buy them on Shop Disney. Also, whilst we're at Galaxy's Edge, we also popped into Ogre's Cantina. And of course, we had to get a pork cup. It did come with a drink as well. Ewan had, I think it was obviously a non-alcoholic drink included. And then they also brought him out a boxed pork cup for him to take home. I think the cup was around about $20, and then plus a drink, and obviously everything was plus tax. So in Galaxy's Edge there is quite a lot to purchase. We bought Po the pork. There are a lot of little characters and like little, I don't know, dolls or teddies. I have seen more, but they were quite limited when we were there. We did bring a Grogu back from my friend's little girl, which I haven't got. If you don't already know, we've got a golden retriever called Kylo, named after Kylo Ren, who's going to be trained as an assistance dog for my daughter Libby. So she, of course, had to buy Kylo Ren. Again, I think these were around $15 to $20 each. Libby also bought a Princess Leia, and the other one, Ewan got a little pork. As I said, I think they're about $15 to $20 each, thereabouts. They may have been slightly cheaper, but they're quite a inexpensive way of bringing a little momentum back from Galaxy's Edge. If I remember right, they had porgs, I think they had Grogu, Kylo Ren, I think they had a Stormtrooper, Princess Leia, but they had no Rays, and they were quite limited with what they had in Galaxy's Edge. I'd like to see a better selection come out in the future. So there are an awful lot of Star Wars characters, so I hope that they will extend that in the future. That's our haul. I didn't realise we brought quite so much stuff until I started to sort it all out again. We had the most amazing trip. As I said, I've tried to mention the prices as I've gone along, but if there's anything specific you want to know the price of or where we got it, just drop me a comment below or send me a message on Instagram. And I am Adventures with the Herberts on Instagram. So if you've not checked me out on there, don't forget to go along and follow. And if you've not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate it. If you've enjoyed today's vlog, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. And I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.